All right, there's only a few things that can get me out of bed and off the couch in the off season when it's not football season to think about high school football in like late April. And one of those things I've always said, Dion, one of those things was if Kansas City ever got an NFL draft. And here we are. The draft is in Kansas City. And I'm out of bed and we're doing another Snap Tackle pod. First one ever outside of football season.
Yes.
It's April. Here we
yes.
are.
The people who voted for us to continue it into the offseason will be happy that we have something here in April. Maybe we'll catch back up come All-Star game time and in late May, early June. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I have heard there is a draft. I joked when I was on with Blair Kirkhoff last week. I said there's been a little bit about it in the news. I mean, you guys have virtually moved your studio down to Crown Center and built out a whole thing, and it's exciting. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to walk and stand. That's for a different level of fan. I will admit that Thursday night I will be TV watching as my New York Rangers go in a critical Game 5 at the New Jersey Devils.
Wait, first of all, I didn't know you're a hockey fan. Second of all, why is it the New York Rangers?
When I lived on the East Coast, when I was in high school, we would get like the Ranger games on ESPN in the 80s, and I just kind of and that's
all
great.
The people that worked at ESPN. They were either from New York or Boston.
Yes, and so I wasn't, the scouts were gone long, like when I was 3 or 4 years old, they were gone, so there was no Kansas City connection, and so I kind of grabbed them as a team. And it's better late in life now that there's ESPN Plus. Means I could, as some guy in Kansas City, I can watch every single New York Ranger game on television, and most of them with the home broadcast. So that's really been fun. And I was really into hockey probably through most of my college years and a little bit after college. And then you get married and you have children, and there's only so many sports you can follow at one time. And the Rangers had their ups and downs. I mean, they made to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2014. And that was a fun run. And then last year they made a run to the Stanley Cup semifinals, the Eastern Conference Finals, and really got back into them. And I kind of at the beginning of this year said, here's something that is something else to watch besides, college football I don't care about. This was the ESPN Plus. And so I really got into it. My wife got me a Mika Zibanejad authentic jersey or sweater, as I don't want to be, railed on by hockey fans. He's the center for the Rangers. Got that. And it's been fun. So yeah, that's the hockey thing. In fact, they've got a really cool song they play after they score a goal. And my wife, she doesn't like it at all, but when they're on the road, I cue it up on my YouTube. So when they score a goal on the road, we still get the song, no matter if they're at home or on the road. So she thinks, mostly thinks I'm a dork, but it's been fun. My son, he likes a little bit of hockey. And the funny thing was last year, because there was no baseball until right at the beginning of the season, you remember the short spring training. And so there was no hot stove in the morning, which is what he used to like to watch getting ready for school. So he would watch NHL Central. So when we got into the playoffs, we started watching the Rangers in that run last year. He knew all these other guys from all these other teams, and because he'd watched the NHL version of Quick Pitch in the morning, and so he's kind of into it. He's not one to sit and watch an entire game, but I don't know if anybody younger than 40 sits down and watches an entire game of anything anymore. But no, it's been fun. That's how I've spent my off season. Missouri basketball was fun. Creighton basketball was fun. I still think they got robbed by an official screw that decided they were going to get involved suddenly in the last 2 minutes of a game. But I thought they had a chance to go a long way and go to the Final Four. And heck, Creighton might have been the best chance of beating UConn. They beat them in the regular season. So they were one of the teams that beat them in conference. So no, that's been my off season, but it's been fun with the draft here, man. Just getting back into it, doing some research, the Simone site. And first off, I'll say, you want to do a Simone trivia question, or do you want to do related to the draft?
Yeah.
Or do you want to do just a general Kansas City Metro trivia question?
Simone.
How many Simone winners have been drafted in the NFL draft?
Big question. How many? All right. So I'm not going to get exact here, but I'm gonna ballpark it. There's a couple I can think of right now that have 3 or 4. I'm going to say before that there were. I'm going to go. I think it was 6, but I'm going to add 1. I'm going to go 7.
Close. 9.
9. 9. Let me see. So Drew Lock,
Yep.
Evan Bain got drafted, correct?
Yep.
Josh Freeman,
Yep.
Kaufman,
Yep.
but Darren Sproles,
Yep.
Harlan Bruce,
Nope.
the older
Last
one.
year. Think about last year.
Well, Simmons. No, he didn't win some money.
He didn't win some money. He ended up starting a playoff game
Oh gosh, everybody.
at quarterback. Played at a local school.
Oh, Skylar Thompson.
Yes.
Thompson.
So you got
6. 3 more.
I'm sorry, it's 8. It's 8. I can't count without numbers in front of me. It's 8. So there's 2 more. So you have everybody from 2000.
Is it like
now?
Like was it Tim Ryan at Rockhurst?
Tim Ryan is 1986. So you knocked off the oldest one. There's one in the 90s.
Yeah.
And had a 7-year career in the NFL. Did not play at a local school in college, but it's not an MUK, UK State or any of the D2s. It's a D1 Power 5 that's close to Missouri. He's a Missouri side guy.
Missouri side guy. Was it Liddell Betts?
Yes, that's it. There's been 3 Buchanan Award winners who've been drafted.
3 Buchanan, so Evan Bain.
Evan counts as in both, yes.
Was the kid from Lake to South Buchanan Award winner? Offensive lineman?
He was a runner-up
to Bain, right?
Well, once to Bain and 2 times to another guy
who got drafted.
Who followed Bain. It was like Bain won it in 10 and 11. This guy won it in 13 and 12, and then the guy who won it in 14.
Well, okay, Malik Collins got to be in there, right?
He's a Bell winner.
Oh, Bell, yeah, it's true. Was it another
same school, same high school? 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row, same high school.
As who?
With the guy who won it in 13 and 12 and the guy who won it in 14 both played at the same high school, played together, in fact, for 2 years.
Oh gosh, I'm kicking myself here.
One plays for the Chiefs.
Was it Blue Springs High School? Is it
yep.
Darius or that's oh gosh, the kid that went from St. Joe Central to Blue Springs.
Yes.
Okay.
Him. Elijah Lee.
Elijah Lee.
And then right after him,
I'm sorry.
Right after him, you could literally say there's 2 of them.
Oh yeah, the twins.
Carlos Davis.
Yep.
Okay. Last draft, the 3 highest drafted players.
Yeah.
Out of the Kansas City Metro. We're not talking about Osawatomie. We're talking PrepsKC coverage area.
Yeah.
3 highest drafted. You mentioned one earlier, but he did not win a Simone.
So the 3 highest.
3 highest. And their positions are 10 and up. So if you drafted 11th overall in the draft, you didn't make the list. Like Freeman's was 17. He was 17 overall. So he is not.
Freeman's not in it. Locke's not in August. Okay, so the highest was Ryan in there? Tim Ryan, was he top 10?
No, he's 5th round.
Okay. Top 10. Okay, well, yeah, so Simmons, right?
Simmons. He
was round 10, wasn't he?
7, I think.
He was 7. Is he the third of
He's in the middle. He's in the middle.
So higher than that from Kansas City area.
No, Simmons was 8, yeah.
Simmons 8.
In 2020. One that one
and the
from
others,
a long time ago.
None of them won Simone's.
No, well, 2 of them were yeah, 2 of them were pre-Simone.
Okay.
The other 2 were pre-Simone.
The other 2 were pre-Simone.
One had a really good long NFL career. And the other one played a little.
I'm drawing a blank. Who are they?
They both one went to Kansas and one went to Missouri. So number 10, or the 3rd highest, is David Verser, who went to Sumner. And he was the 10th overall pick by the Bengals in 81.
Wow.
And he was a wide receiver.
Really?
Dave Stewart, when I was researching this, and we were kind of going back and forth. He's like, he was kind of a bust, and I'm like, well, he did have he played in the Super Bowl in '82 with the Bengals. Had a 3 or 4 year career. I think he moved on to one other team after that, mainly a punt returner, kick returner in his career. Did go on, according to Wikipedia, to be a police officer and counselor in Cincinnati.
Okay.
After he got done. So he's had a fruitful post career. The highest drafted player in Kansas City Metro history is in 1968, the beginning of the common era draft, as Curtis Seabelt likes. That's the beginning of the B, the your ADBCE thing for Curtis Seabelt is 1968. Russ Washington played at Southeast, went to the University of Missouri, and was the 4th overall pick in the draft of the San Diego Chargers, and played there for 10, 11, 12 years. I mean, if you look, he was a tackle and a guard. He's in the Chargers Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame worthy guy, but he was several times All Pro. Right. And I have known about him since I was probably 5 or 6 years old, because watching a Chargers Chiefs game, my dad looks at me and goes, I played against that guy, because my dad played at Raytown the same year. So his junior year, my father didn't play senior year. It was the 60s. So if you hurt your knee, you were done, even if it was just like a minor meniscus tear. You were out for. He didn't play his senior year, but he played his junior year and played against Russ Washington. So yeah, Russ Washington is a name that sticks with me because I've known about it for so long. But he's a Missouri guy. Was a 4th overall pick on that 67, 68. Those mid 60s Missouri teams that were really good. So that's our draft trivia to start. But look, the fun thing is about the guys this year, we probably have the most that may get drafted that we've had in a long time. I mean, this is a pretty good crop of guys coming in.
It's a great crop of guys, and if you can get all their names down, then you're a football fan.
Here's the deal. Coach Douglas at North Kansas City told me when Tommy was going through, it was Adebayo, and you're saying Adebayo War, so he had it wrong. No,
it's I talked to Adebayo.
I've been saying it wrong.
And then I was calling him Adebayo because PJ, right, his little brother played this past year. And then someone was like, no, it's Adebayo. And so I asked Tommy on our Zoom call, I'm like, is that Adebayo or is it Adebayo? I'm like, okay, Adebayo. I'm going to go from the horse's mouth. I found that coaches sometimes are the worst when asking how to pronounce a name.
Well, we had the bell winner this year at center, and Coach DeLong, I don't think ever got his last. It took like 10 times to get his last name right. So, no, coaches are not great, but you got Felix, and I'll let you do the last names on it.
Felix and DK Uzama, he's from Lee Summit.
And Tinsley, I think, is also from Lee Summit. Jamar Tinsley.
Yeah.
No, Michael. Is it Michael Tinsley? I think it is.
Sure.
He kind of popped up.
It was 1 year at Lee Summit, you said?
1 year at Lee Summit, and then went to a smaller school and transferred to Penn State. And has made a big run. Then the kid from Ruskin, I'll let you do that since you're professionally paid.
Inachukwu. It's funny because Inachukwu, Adebayo, and Udike Uzama all play the same position. Yeah, right? They're all from the Missouri side, all DNs. 2 of them wore 91. Why? Because they're huge Tamba Hali fans.
Hali fans.
Yeah, and so it's been cool kind of catching up with those guys and seeing their journeys. Look. Adebayo is skyrocketing up draft boards. He has been mocked in first rounds. I've seen him mocked in the first round. I've seen him mocked to the Chiefs. And so that's kind of late first, early second is kind of where FAU Felix has been mocked as well. So we're actually going to be at Tommy's draft party on Thursday. They're hosting one just in case he gets taken that day.
It's funny. His senior year, the Simone Awards were a little different that year. They had him in a neutral site on a Sunday, and so there was a Thursday night Chiefs game between when the finalists were announced and the winners were announced. And so the Chiefs had all the finalists out to the game and had them down the field. And Coach Douglas and I were standing there, and Coach Douglas looks at me and goes, "He's going to play in the league." And I go, "Pretty sure?" And he goes, "Yeah, he's going to play in the league." Yeah. Felix was highly recruited. And a good player in high school, but he kind of, worked and really raised his game. And Akinna was kind of the same thing too. Well recruited, but not to, Tommy, I think was the biggest recruit coming out when he came out in terms of that kind of stuff. But those guys are all, outstanding players. And then, talk about Simone, you got Ronnie Bell.
Yep.
Everybody's known about him since he, played high school football, won the Simone. And then another guy who's kind of maybe, 6th round, 7th round, that I got a chance to talk to yesterday is Kobe Cummings out of Platte County. A guy who, played at Platte County, went to Missouri Western, was a dual sport guy, played baseball, played football. And then, with COVID, he got a 5th year. And actually before his 4th year, his coach came to him and said, "Hey, we've had some scouts come by and they like what they see out of you. You got to make a choice here. You're going to keep playing baseball or are you going to focus on football and see if you can do this and make it in the league?" And he told me, he goes, "Well, I made that choice." He goes, "Baseball was going okay." So he goes, "It made it a little easier choice. It wasn't like I was, crushing it." But he is an impressive guy just talking to him. And I think that's one of the things about all the guys that are in this group. Real high IQ guys, real game smart guys. And Cummings, that's what, I talked to Oots and he goes, "Oh no," he goes, he's a sharp guy. He goes, "That's one of those guys when we were playing in high school was on a football level up above other guys, was like, the old coach on the field type thing." And I joked with him. I said, the last time I saw Kobe was walking off the field his last game at Webb City. He goes, "Oh, you got to bring that up because they lost a tough, close game to Webb City." That 2017 team might be one of the best Platte County teams, and that's even going with the ones that won the 3 straight and 100 some in a row, because they were playing bigger competition. This is Class 4 competition. That was a pretty good team that didn't win a state championship, but he was part of that. Well,
Adabare and Inachukwu have known each other since high school. It's really cool talking. McKenna came in to the station and we sat down with him and he let us come to his workout and everything and just get some video and all that stuff. It was really cool catching up with him. I mean, he played at Ruskin, right? Played at Ruskin. They won. Guess I'll get a trivia for you. How many games did they win in his 4 years at Ruskin?
I'm going to say 5, but one of them was a playoff game against Raytown.
4, but one was a playoff game. They might have won 2 that year, though. They also might have been winless, I think, until they beat Raytown in that playoff game. One of the wins was against North Kansas City and against Adabare. And so that year, the playoff win year, his senior year, they ended up with just 19 guys on their team. Guys got hurt, guys quit, right? And so he battled through all that, got some offers, liked Rice. He's one of those smart guys as well. Academic, Conference USA guy, 4-point everything guy. And so went to Rice and, stood out. And I asked him, like, okay, you went through the infancy of the transfer portal where everybody was doing it. You clearly had NFL ability. Why didn't you, jump ship for College Station, right? Down there in Houston, whatever, just some sort of much bigger, high profile school. He's like, it's kind of the same reason, as I was at Ruskin. I was okay being on a team of underdogs, right? And it makes it. I don't want to, I don't want to trophy chase or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so as I stayed there, he stayed there 5 years, right? He stayed there all 5 years. And the biggest thing for him, he might get drafted, he might not, but he got invited to the combine, and he got invited to the East West Shrine Bowl, and both of those means he's right there. I mean, he could go in the fourth or 5th round. He could go 6th or 7th. He could be a UDFA guy, but he's gonna get a shot with an NFL team.
Yeah, that's the one thing that all these guys seem to, they really have, or like we talk about it, real high IQ and personality, and I'm sure that those guys they're great interviews, and I'm sure if you're a team and you're interviewing and talking to them, just like when I was talking to Kobe yesterday, that's the kind of guy you want on your team. Outgoing, personal, positive, hard worker, that kind of thing. And all those guys have done that, because Tommy, even though Tommy went to Northwestern, he could have gone a lot of places, but he went to Northwestern and got a good education and did things the right way and made an impact right away. I remember his freshman year, he was out on the field making impacts. You could see him, and that's, it's easier to find a Northwestern game than it is a Rice game sometimes.
Yeah.
So no doubt. And then of course we've seen Felix on TV, all over the place the last few years. I mean, he's really been a big impact, and going to a great school and a great coach like Chris Kleiman. At the time they hired Kleiman, and he came to a coaches association meeting and talked, and Missouri was under the past regime. I was very jealous and called my buddy Ryan Wallace, a big K-State guy, and I was like, "I'm jealous of your coach." I wish we'd have, I wish we'd have made a move and tried to get him. But it's really fun. And I joked with Blair and I joked with Kobe. I said, "You just going to go down there on Saturday and stand in the crowd, and if they call your name, be like, I'm right here."
That'd be
Go up on
hilarious.
stage. He's like, "No, that's funny." His mom, I guess, works for a company that manages, several apartment complexes, and then she goes, she's got their office has a nice big conference room with TVs, and he goes, "So we're going to use that on Saturday, and just in case it happens." And he said there's been some teams that have talked to him and said, if we don't draft you, we want to bring in. Of course, he came into the Chiefs facility. He was one of the guys that got invited to the Chiefs. So he's come in. I asked him, I said, what was that like being a kid from Kansas City, going in and doing a workout for the, one of the people invited in? He goes, "It was pretty cool." He goes, "It's one of those things you don't really, it's like pie in the sky type thing when you're, 15, 16, 17 years old."
Yeah. It reminds me of and my internet's messing up right now. The kid from Excelsior Springs last year, who I think he Missouri Western as well.
Maybe, yeah.
Sam, he plays for the Raiders, right? Hooked up with the Raiders.
Yeah. And when he was in high school, he was a really good player.
Yeah.
So I think, and Kobe brought it up in his thing. He said, "I think that Kansas City is now starting to get a little more recognition for the players." And I mean, we're not, we're talking about guys, we talked about a guy, Braden Smith, who never won the Buchanan Award because he finished second to Elijah Lee and Evan Bain. And he's, an NFL starter, high draft pick, went to Auburn. I think if there's one position that we are becoming known for, it might be offensive, defensive line, edge rusher type guys, because we've got, 2-3 more that are heading off to, Bama, Tennessee, Oklahoma, PJ, Tommy's little brother, Edric Hill he went to Bama, didn't he? And then
He went to Bama, and then PJ's at Oklahoma already.
He's already there. Yeah.
Showing up in the spring drills and games already.
Yeah. He was a scholar banquet honoree for the Coaches Association. When you get the D1, you just kind of get your name called. They don't give you the $1,000. So they, go and get the alternate. So he wasn't at the banquet. He was already down in Oklahoma. And then Shane Davey Bradley from Platte County is going to Tennessee. So pretty good, and we got Jayshon Ross, who's at Liberty North, as a guy who's getting highly recruited, edge type guy, tight end type guy. We seem to be finding those guys. And some of that is there's some of those basketball guys, that come out that, maybe their skill set isn't, you're 6'3", 6'4", and your skill set isn't great in basketball, and they find their way to football. Sometimes those guys are the ones that end up being those big explosive edge type guys, or offensive line. Caden Green's another guy. At least I'm in North. You could hear his name called here in a few years. Offensive lineman down in Oklahoma. So we are starting to put some guys out there. I mean, and it's fun to see. And it's one of those that is definitely going to be fun to see this weekend. I hope they all get drafted. If nothing else, I think they, even the ones that don't are probably going to end up somewhere once this goes. And sometimes that's a better way to go. The undrafted free agent, you get to pick your situation.
You do. And I looked it up. Okay, what percentage of the NFL, trivia here, what percentage of the NFL, Dion, is made up of undrafted free agents? Basically, what percentage of the NFL player of the NFL rosters were not drafted?
I'm gonna say at least 20%.
23%, almost a quarter of the NFL. It's every year. It's every Super Bowl champ. You have guys making big plays every single Super Bowl who weren't drafted.
Yeah. I think that the personnel departments, some are not. I mean, it's easy for us to say the personnel departments are getting better because the Chiefs have one of the best. You see what they did in the draft last year. It's like they just totally rebuilt the defensive backfield and are in a position to let a guy like Juan Thornhill walk in free agency and keep the roster dollars down. And so you can afford the giant, quarterback contracts and the Kelsey, the big contracts you have to have to win. So it's a fun time. I'm not normally a sit around and watch the draft type of guy. I'll check in and, check out, kind of around the Chiefs are at or where local kids are at, but I probably will watch a little more this weekend than I have in the past, because it's here. I won't be down in it. I don't necessarily need to get my Fitbit steps in for the entire weekend in one day. I don't have a pass. I don't have a pass.
Yeah, I've been telling people treat it like the parade. Okay, it's going to be a pain in the butt getting down there. You're going to walk a lot, right? You maybe not won't be able to see as much as you want to see. Although that NFL experience is pretty good. I saw it in Vegas last year. It's pretty fun, especially if kids go do it. There's they're constructing actual football fields out there. It's literally the biggest footprint the draft has ever seen. It's going to be the largest draft in the history of the draft. And treat it like the parade. At the end of the year, like, okay, that maybe wasn't worth it. Right? Wrangling 4 kids, right? It's screaming. But you could always say you were there, right?
Yeah.
You got your pictures, you put it on Facebook, all that stuff. You could say you were there for what could be the only draft here in our lifetime. Although,
yeah, because I mean,
I bet not. I bet in my lifetime, if I could survive a few more years, I bet it comes back to Kansas City. That
yeah, I think they're going to try. I mean,
all 32 cities, but I bet Kansas City puts on a good enough show, so good of a show this week that the NFL is like, yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back sooner than later.
It's kind of like that. I think like same with the All-Star game. I think we'll get that back, especially if we build a new stadium. We'll get that back sooner than we did the last time and got passed over by several months. But no, it's going to be a fun weekend, and I know you got a lot of work to do, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and do this. I will say I had to kind of browbeat him into it, people, to get him back on the.
You've been asking me since December. Keep doing this.
I know.
I just find excuses. This is my busiest week, probably outside of the Super Bowl week. Since
I know. I think if you can poke your head up to like a groundhog next Monday and still see things that are good, you'll be happy, because then it's just some bad Royals baseball and mini camps and stuff like that. There's not much going on. Though the Royals did get their week.
Yeah, the spring sports are winding down on the high school side. All that.
Yeah, I've got a track meet I'm doing for Spectrum here in a couple of weeks, and then it'll be All-Star game for me in June, which will be fun. That's out at Ray-Pac this year, but then July, everything starts all over. So looking forward to it. Well, have fun the rest of the week, man.
I will. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be down there. Like you said, I usually watch the entire first round, and then kind of half of the second day, second and third round. And then Saturdays, usually 4th through 7th. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Just tell me who everybody picked. I'll find out. I'll find out later. But this year I'll be right down there in the middle of it. The media areas in the Weston, which is, adjacent to the Union Station. And so it's just it's cool. I've been down the last 2 nights just looking at that stage, and the stage is not enough of a term to describe it. It's an actual building. It's a structure. It's a theater they constructed in front of Union Station, and it's going to look really cool. I think one of the coolest things is they've got these LED, basically jumbotrons, basically huge big screens that are inside Union Station and project through the windows of Union Station. Each one has its own tint to it. So like it could be kind of reddish, kind of bluish. They'll be showing the draft through there. So that's going to be really cool. Kind of looking through those arched iconic windows of Union Station and seeing basically a TV screen. It's going to look pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's going to be a busy weekend for you, but I think it's a great weekend for our city.
Great weekend for the city. I mean, you'll be surprised. You will see fans from literally every team here. You'll see jerseys from every team here. People will come and enjoy it, because it's still a new thing. I think a lot of people still don't understand, and I don't have my arms wrapped around everything, like what all they can do and what all it's about, because this isn't like it's a football game that we've all been to before, or any sort of other event. It's a draft, and they only started moving this thing around like less than a decade ago.
Yeah.
And almost nobody you know has ever been to one. So people are like, okay, can I do this? Can I do that? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. Big part of it's free, but if you want to get close, you have to pay for the tickets, and those are sold out. And so we're just kind of like, people aren't really, exact on what they're going to be seeing down there. But I went to one last year, and it's worth going. It's worth going. So get on out there.
Well, we'll talk again soon, man.
Sounds good.